Alright guys, I am back with a Monday Night Raw review. Basically I'm doing this because all this stuff going on with Kevin Owens right now is huge. I mean, everybody's talking about it. It's a big deal. And I figured the best way to kind of talk about that, and maybe some of the other things in WWE right now, would be to just review a Raw, give my thoughts on the show as I watch it. There's still some stuff I want to talk about with TNA, of course, the Ring of Honor deal to Destination America and all that crap, and what that means, and review some of the Ring of Honor shows as well. So I'm probably going to do all that in a separate video, so this will just be WWE stuff. But as far as Kevin Owens goes, I am so happy for Kevin Owens. I mean, talk about a deserving guy. You couldn't find a more deserving guy than Kevin Owens. I mean, as far as the dues he's paid, the work he's put into this, his just sheer love of wrestling, that's what matters to me, is that the guy is really a fan, that he appreciates these opportunities. And I honestly feel like everything that happened to CM Punk should have been happening to Kevin Owens. The longest title reign, facing The Undertaker, facing The Rock. I mean, that should have happened to a guy like Kevin Owens and not some ingrate like CM Punk. But Kevin Owens, I think they've established right now, so far, with him coming out and confronting Cena a few weeks ago and then facing him at the Chamber, they've established that he has paid his dues, that he loves wrestling. So that's great. And they've really built him up as a powerhouse. I mean, talk about a debut. He comes in, he faces Cena, and beats him clean. When I heard that, granted I haven't seen Elimination Chamber. You guys know how much I watch the product. I have been interested more because of what's happening with Kevin Owens. But when I heard that, and I see tonight Kevin Owens come out and confront John Cena again. They're talking about Money in the Bank, which I honestly can't believe there's already another pay-per-view. But Kevin Owens coming out and doing that, I almost feel like I'm in some type of Twilight Zone. Like, is this really happening? Like, I just saw this guy at Ring of Honor a year ago. So it's definitely crazy to me to see this, but I'm so happy for the guy. Now, there have been a couple problems. First of all, was all of this just a last-ditch effort to try and get some diehards to buy the Elimination Chamber? Of course it was. Because they know we're the ones who spend the money. They need us. Because when it's not WrestleMania season or SummerSlam season, they need the diehards to fill in those gaps. So of course they're trying to throw out all the stops. Hey, we're pushing the guys you like now. So of course that's what this was. Now, the problem with that is, what does this mean in the future for Kevin Owens? I mean, is this awesome? Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. But what does this mean in the future? Is he going to go down to the mid-card and flounder, kind of like Bray Wyatt? Or are they going to push him right into the main event and just get the ball rolling with this guy? Keep that momentum going, because that's what needs to happen. This is a guy they could really push, because how can I say this? Like tonight, he comes out and he says, Cena, we've been watching you at the opening of Raw for like 10 years, and people are tired of it. Now, to have a guy like Kevin Owens say these things really carries a lot more weight, because he is one of the indie darlings. He's one of those guys. And for him to come out and just call Cena out, call it the way he sees it, that really makes him kind of like, yeah, you know, we've all been saying these things for a long time, kind of like what CM Punk was trying to do, except a lot less douchier. So I think people are going to really get behind him, and you could have something great with Kevin Owens, but they have to keep it going. And I know how awesome this seems, but I'm still nervous. Like, this company has betrayed me so many times that I'm still so nervous that as soon as this feud with Cena is over, he's going, hopefully not as low as Fandango, God forbid, but he's probably going to drop a little bit. And that really shouldn't happen. But yeah, Kevin Owens, and another thing about Kevin Owens is he's been great. He's done well on the mic. His matches and everything have been, Kevin Owens. However, he still doesn't have that confidence about him that he had in Ring of Honor. Granted, that's to be expected. I mean, how many of us would come out on Monday Night Raw and just kill it instantly and not be nervous at all? I mean, I know myself personally, I would just be walking down that ramp for the first time saying, don't trip, just don't trip. Do not become the new Shockmaster, which would inevitably cause me to trip. But yeah, I think he has been a little bit nervous out there. Tonight you could see it, like with the whole delusional thing with him and Cena going back and forth. But I mean, in Ring of Honor, that was like Kevin Steen's house, you know. He could go out there, be confident he was the guy in charge, and Cena, of course, is going to be stronger on the mic because he's the guy in charge on Raw. So, of course, Cena's going to come off better in these verbal whatever. So the show starts with Steen coming out, or Owens coming out, and he says that they talk about the Money in the Bank match for a little bit. Then they say, okay, how about this? Well, whoever comes out the ramp first. How do they decide that, by the way? Is Neville just like waiting at the curtain and he's the first one out the door, so it has to be Neville? Like, how does that work storyline-wise with these open challenges? But, yeah, so they say the first wrestler out, we'll let him decide. He can face you for the US title, or he can face me for the NXT title. So Neville comes out, and for some insane reason, he wants to face Owens. He was just NXT champion. Why would he want to do this? So I didn't really understand that, but he comes out there, and this leads to Owens versus Neville with John Cena on commentary. Wow, John Cena on commentary. He compares himself to Babe Ruth. John Cena he's the Babe Ruth of wrestling. This guy, he has been on top for a very long time in a period when wrestling has sucked. So, now not all of that's his fault, but some, I mean, wrestling is not as popular as it used to be. Now, that's not all Cena's fault, but because he has been the top guy for so long, some of it has to fall on his shoulders. Some of it is his fault. Not all of it, but some. So to say he's Babe Ruth is just a complete joke. Jim Cornette said this in his Wrestling is Dead video. Look it up on YouTube, Jim Cornette Wrestling is Dead. It's a very entertaining video where he just spits out a lot of truth, in my opinion. But he says that wrestling is the only sport, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling is the only one where less people watch it now than used to watch it. It's the only one. And yeah, for John Cena to come out there, he's been on top for 10 years, and that's not really a good thing, and he's definitely no Babe Ruth of wrestling. Then we have Kevin Steen defeating Neville. It was a good match. I like Neville. But the man that gravity forgot, you know why that is, right? Because those ears, they allow him to kind of hover in the air like a hang glider, so that gives him a few more seconds of hang time. That's why he's the man gravity forgot. They should really push that up as his gimmick. I'm just picking on Neville here. I can say that because I also have big ears, so it's okay. But yeah, I like Neville. I thought he looked great here, and for a second I thought, is Neville going to win? Because at some point they have to get this belt off of Kevin Owens. But that would still be like I said in the beginning, why would Neville come out and face Kevin Owens when he was already NXT champion? So it would actually be a downgrade to send Neville back to NXT at this point, I think. So he's going to have to drop it to one of the other NXT guys, which brings me to another problem with NXT. I've heard about Finn Balor and how great he is, obviously Bullet Club and all that stuff, you know. And I hear he's coming up soon too. So another issue is if all these top guys, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, if all these guys are coming out of NXT, is NXT going to continue to be as good? Because everybody's so into NXT, but once they lose all the stars, what happens to NXT? So that's all I had to say about the opening of the show. So let's continue here. So nothing particularly noteworthy has happened. Seth Rollins is talking to the Authority backstage. He tells them that he needs them, and he's allowed to pick his opponent for tonight. Then it's Nikki Bella versus Summer Rae. I have no idea what is up with Nikki Bella and the hats. It's like she decided to be slutty baseball girl for Halloween one year and then just decided to make it her gimmick. I have no idea what she's supposed to be. But she beats Summer Rae here. Then Roman Reigns comes out and Kane interrupts him. He's introducing all the competitors and Money in the Bank. So Dolph Ziggler comes out, and then R-Truth comes out, and he's like, oh, at Money in the Bank, and Kane's like, whoa, 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 you're not in the match. And then R-Truth is like, oh, this one's on me, guys. And then he walks off, and then Dolph and Roman Reigns are like, oh, that crazy R-Truth, what will he do next? It was all very dumb. Then the New Day comes out, Sheamus, Randy Orton, and all of this leads to a match with Randy Orton versus Sheamus, which was okay. It was kind of boring. Sheamus did hit a drop toe hold, and I remember when people used to hit that all the time, but I feel like I haven't seen it in a long time, so that was kind of cool. But he grabs a chair, Orton gets it from him, throws it at him, very weak looking, and this gets Orton disqualified. Then he proceeds to beat up Sheamus afterwards, RKO's him. It was just kind of boring and pointless, I thought. But then we go backstage again. Seth Rollins is texting J&J Security's there. They're like, hey, Seth, we know what you said about not needing us, and we forgive you. Rollins gets upset at them, and then he says, well, tonight I get to pick my opponent, and I'm going to face you guys in a handicap match. They slap each other, and it's this whole ordeal. But I actually thought this was really entertaining, the stuff with Jamie Noble and Seth Rollins. I thought that was good. Oh my goodness. So they've been showing these funny pictures of Dean Ambrose running around Bourbon Street on Instagram. I don't know why, but we get Dolph Ziggler versus Kane. I couldn't do it. I fast forwarded through this, and it lasted a very long time. Just, who wants to see this? But Dolph is with Lana now, so she's on the outside, and then Rusev comes out on crutches. And he's like in her face, kind of like yelling stuff at her. And so she's trying to get away from him, and she walks off the apron, or not the apron, the ramp, and she twists her ankle. So she walks off and immediately like collapses. And then Dolph sees this, he gets distracted, Kane choke slams him, beats him. This whole thing was beyond lame. So then we see like all these officials and Dolph checking on Lana. And the acting is so bad. He just keeps repeating the same things over and over again. Are you okay? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh man, are you okay? It was just like he had nothing else to say, and I think he actually dropped a couple F-bombs because the sound went out, and it sounded like that's what he said. But yeah, this was terrible. So we see a commercial for a new show on WWE Network, Swerved. From the producer of Jackass and Bad Grandpa, with what appears to be the budget of a high school film project, is Swerved, where WWE wrestlers play pranks on each other like Punk'd. This is so unbelievable. Oh man, so it's Miz TV. And Miz comes out, and he brings out his guest Ryback. And he tells Ryback he's ugly and the moneymaker is important. It's important to have a good face. It was okay. Then Big Show comes out. And he's talking about how he's a giant. He can crush bricks with his hands. If he wants something, he takes it. If he wants to take Ryback's championship, he will, and Ryback's like, hey, I'm right here. Then Big Show attacks Miz and Ryback, and then Ryback shell shocks the Big Show. So Miz is a heel, Ryback is a face, but why this is so funny to me is this is right around the time WWE would turn Big Show face again, because he's apparently not with the Authority anymore. And you can tell, it's so obvious they want to turn him face, but I think because of all that internet stuff, when people were talking about how many times he's turned face and heel and how it's completely pointless, and now people are keeping track of how many times, they won't do it, but they want to so bad. They just want to say Big Show is a face again and all this stuff. So it was hilarious, because he's out there putting down Miz, which is a babyface thing, but he also has to put down Ryback, so it's like he's still a heel. It's completely goofy. It's Luke Harper and Eric Rowan versus Los Matadores. I'll be honest, I fast forwarded through this match. Harper and Rowan are back together again. I don't know why they split them up in the first place. I guess they don't either. So they beat Los Matadores with the Dudley Death Drop, which led to some fans chanting, "We want tables." I was kind of surprised to see them use this move, but I mean, that's one of the best tag team moves in history, if not the best, in my opinion. So it's kind of funny that it took them this long to have another team use it. But, so what happens? Oh yeah, Luke Harper gets a microphone and he's like, tick, tock, which just, I feel like that's as fast as this show is going right now, is like tick, tock, tick, tock. I mean, it's taking forever to watch this, and that's including fast forwarding. This is just too long. It's ridiculously long and pointless. There's really been nothing really good on this show. I mean, Owens versus Neville was okay. The Miz TV stuff was okay, but I mean, I'm at like 2 hours and 30 minutes right now. This is absurd. Then Kane is talking to Seth Rollins backstage. He says that he's going to win Money in the Bank and then cash in on Rollins. Yeah, right. And then we see Dean Ambrose on Instagram has just bought a ticket into the arena from a ticket scalper. Now, who is scalping tickets when there's 30 minutes left of the show? That just doesn't even make sense. So the primetime players have reformed, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil. And it's Titus O'Neil versus Big E of the New Day. Very boring stuff here. The New Day starts attacking Darren Young on the outside. This distracts Titus. So Big E hits the big ending and gets the win. And the thing is, I've heard a lot of people talk about how WWE is, they're doing so much with the tag team division now. Which does seem to be true, but it's like the age-old question, if a tree falls in the woods. If WWE rebuilds the tag team division, but all the teams suck, does anyone care? I mean, all these teams are bad. I guess Tyson Kidd and Cesaro are a decent team. They're still just two guys thrown together, though, that they weren't doing anything else with. And then I hear Tyson Kidd's been injured, so they're out for a while. But yeah, the teams are terrible. Now, they show another commercial for WWE Network's newest original program, The List. And it's celebrities talking about wrestling. And now a couple of these are, famous people, Kevin Hart, Jon Stewart. The rest of these people, I have no idea who they are. Well, I know some of them. So they show a Brady Bunch picture of some of the celebrities on here, and I paused it. And, okay, starting in the top left corner, you got who I think is Zeus. I think that says Tiny Lister, who is Zeus and Debo. So that kind of makes sense. The words are very small, so it's difficult for me. I know that's Sam Roberts, and then the girl is Kate Lindahl. Now, these two actually work together. They have a wrestling podcast type thing. They have a YouTube channel with Not Sam. And it's actually very good. I watch a lot of his interviews. I think I've seen all the interviews he's done with wrestlers. I really enjoy that. Definitely check out his interview with X-Pac. That was a good one. And I just had a power flicker, so I lost the box of characters. Now my DVR's got to restart. We've had a lot of thunderstorms tonight. I don't know how that's going to affect this video if it short-circuited something. But let's see if I can go off of memory. Okay, so you have those guys in the... it had the twins from the 22 Jump Street. It had it had the guys from Hardcore Pawn. It had some guy, I think it said Clark something. I think it's the fat kid from Hot Tub Time Machine, but I'm not positive about that one. And then who was in the top right? Oh, it was like a rapper guy. They had a lot of rappers on here. So yeah, that is the commercial for WWE's The List with celebrities talking about wrestlers. Alright, so now that my DVR is back up and running, I was able to finish the show and see some more people from the little box of celebrities, one of which was Wayne Brady, and then some girl, I have no idea who she was. It's Roman Reigns versus Kofi Kingston. Reigns wins, of course, with the Superman punch. I liked Xavier Woods' reaction at the end. That's really all there is to say about that. Then it's Seth Rollins versus J&J Security. Kane is in their corner. Ambrose shows up because he bought the ticket from the scalper. And man, did this guy get lucky as crap, because he got a front row ticket from the scalper last minute. I mean, he's right up front row. But Rollins beats him up. They try to cheat against him. Eventually, Ambrose jumps the barricade, throws the title in the ring. This distracts Rollins. So Joey Mercury runs up, rolls up Seth Rollins, and gets the win. Then, as Rollins is watching J&J Security and Kane celebrate, Ambrose runs in, hits Dirty Deeds, and steals the title back. And that was the end of the show. While I like what they're doing with Dean Ambrose, a lot of it does come across as silly and a bit dated. You know, the whole thing when Rollins is beat up and he's near Ambrose's side of the barricade, he's dumping popcorn on his head and stuff like that. It's kind of silly and dated, and it just makes me think, like, wrestling, when it comes to the storylines in WWE, it really hasn't evolved at all. It's always the same stuff. That being said, I do like Dean Ambrose. I feel like they could do way more than this with this guy, but at least they're doing something with him. Now, I don't know how they're going to keep the title on Rollins. I hope Ambrose beats him, but I think that's a long shot. I think Rollins is going to retain. And that being said, that looks really bad for Ambrose, considering that Rollins just lost to Joey Mercury here. So how are they going to have Rollins beat Ambrose and keep Ambrose looking strong? And Ambrose hasn't exactly had the best winning streak to begin with. He really needs some stuff to establish him as credible. Right now, he's just a goofball who runs around and does crazy, wacky shenanigans, but then always loses. And who wants to back a guy like that? As far as this show goes overall, I thought this one was pretty boring. You could watch the first 20 minutes or so, and after the Owens-Neville match, just be done with it. There was really nothing on this show that I would say you need to go out of your way to watch, and that actually includes the Owens-Neville match. There was just nothing really spectacular on this show, and that's pretty sad considering this was actually a go-home show, if you would believe it. So, yeah, it's just too stinking long. And I'm not going to harp on that because everyone's been saying that for years now. Ever since Raw moved to 3 hours, everyone's talked about how long the show is. It's just too long. But the truth is, if they're making extra money off of the advertisements, like any business, as long as it's making the money, why would they change it? Even though it would probably help them out in the long run. And also, maybe they think it would cause a negative perception of the product if it's like, oh, Raw couldn't handle 3 hours, they're back down to 2. I have no idea, but this one was tough to get through for me, and like I said earlier, even with fast forwarding, this one just seemed to go on and on. I mean, second to last match is Roman Reigns versus Kofi Kingston. Are you kidding me? This is a go-home show? Like, this show wore me out. Like, I had tons of energy before I watched this, and now I'm just like completely drained. And that is not good. But that's my review of Raw for this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching. Bye. Alright guys, I am back with a Monday Night Raw review. Basically I'm doing this because all this stuff going on with Kevin Owens right now is huge. I mean, everybody's talking about it. It's a big deal. And I figured the best way to kind of talk about that, and maybe some of the other things in WWE right now, would be to just review a Raw, give my thoughts on the show as I watch it. There's still some stuff I want to talk about with TNA, of course, the Ring of Honor deal to Destination America and all that crap, and what that means, and review some of the Ring of Honor shows as well. So I'm probably going to do all that in a separate video. So this will facing The Undertaker, facing The Rock. I mean, that should have happened to a guy like Kevin Owens and not some ingrate like CM Punk. But Kevin Owens, I think they've established right now, so far, with him coming out and confronting Cena a few weeks ago and then facing him at the Chamber, they've established that he has paid his dues, that he loves wrestling. So that's great. And they've really built him up as a powerhouse. I mean, talk about a debut. He comes in, he faces Cena, and beats him clean. When I heard that, granted I haven't seen Elimination Chamber. You guys know how much I watch the product. I have been interested more because of what's happening with Kevin Owens. But when I heard that, and I see tonight Kevin Owens come out and confront John Cena again. They're talking about Money in the Bank, which I honestly can't believe there's already another pay-per-view. But Kevin Owens coming out and doing that, I almost feel like I'm in some type of Twilight Zone. Like, is this really happening? Like, I just saw this guy at Ring of Honor a year ago. So it's definitely crazy to me to see this, but I'm so happy for the guy. Now, there have been a couple problems. Just be WWE stuff. But as far as Kevin Owens goes, I am so happy for Kevin Owens. I mean, talk about a deserving guy. You couldn't find a more deserving guy than Kevin Owens. I mean, as far as the dues he's paid, the work he's put into this, his just sheer love of wrestling, that's what matters to me, is that the guy is really a fan, that he appreciates these opportunities. And I honestly feel like everything that happened to CM Punk should have been happening to Kevin Owens. The longest title reign. First of all, was all of this just a last-ditch effort to try and get some diehards to buy the Elimination Chamber? Of course it was. Because they know we're the ones who spend the money. They need us. Because when it's not WrestleMania season or SummerSlam season, they need the diehards to fill in those gaps. So of course they're trying to throw out all the stops. Hey, we're pushing the guys you like now. So of course that's what this was. Now, the problem with that is, what does this mean in the future for Kevin Owens? I mean, is this awesome? Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. But what does this mean in the future? Is he going to go down to the mid-card and flounder, kind of